You can see the final look of my dress, the Queen Anne neckline, the Basque waistline effect, the full gathers of the skirt. All these are what I'm going to show you in this tutorial. Hi, call me Lomzy. I'm a fashion designer from Nigeria. Let me know where you're watching me from. I am open to any fashion related collaboration. On this channel, I share sewing tutorials, pattern drafting tutorials, sewing patterns, sewing tips and tricks, sewing techniques, head wrap tutorials, DIYs, any fashion related content. That's what I share on this particular channel. And on today's sewing tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a gathered milkmaid dress with Basque waistline and Queen Anne neckline. If that's what you want to learn, make sure not to skip any part of this video. I tried out a new method of making a bustier top and it came out so nice. So I decided to share that sewing technique with you. So if that's what you would like to learn, make sure not to skip any part of this video. And if you learned any new thing, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. If this is your first time coming across my channel, consider subscribing and turning on all notification bell icon so that you don't miss any of my sewing tutorials. So today's sewing tutorial, let's go to the cutting table. To make this, I used 1 yard of the plain fabric and 3 yards of the pattern. So in total, I use 4 yards. You will need more if you're on the plus size. The measurement I'll be using for this is bust 34 inches, waist 27 inches, hips 40 inches, dress length 43 inches, and shoulder width 14 inches. Next is the pattern drafting. I have squared out a line and this line is my armhole length. I'm going to start from there to take all the vertical measurement. So I have placed this starting from my armhole line, and next I'm going to take the bust point, also take the under bust point, and then the waistline. I'll go ahead and square these lines out. Note that I'm working on a half scale, so if you're working, use your actual measurements. And then for the hip line, I like to take the hip line from the waistline down to the hip line. If you want, you can take it from your shoulder line, but I like to take from the waistline. I'll go ahead and also square this line out. Let me run you through the lines I have again. This line is the armhole line. This is the bust point. This is the under bust point. This is the waistline. And then the final line, which is the hip line. So on this armhole line, I'm going to take the bust divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches. On the waistline, I'm going to take waist divided by 4 plus 2.5 inches for that. And then on the hip line, I'm going to take hip circumference divided by 4 inches, and I'll also add 2.5 inches for that, and also ½ inch for ease. So I'll go ahead and connect all these lines. You're going to connect this straight like this. And then for the hip line, I like to curve it a bit, so I'm going to curve it like this, the way you see me showing you with my hand. So go ahead and connect it like so. You can use your curve ruler to do this, but most times I prefer to use my hand because I've not found the shape I want on the curve ruler. So I'm just going to connect it like so. Next, I'm going to mark the bust span. So here I'm going to square down the bust span divided by 2. Mine is 4 inches, so I'm going to square 4 inches from the armhole line down to the hip line. Next, I'm going to mark the dart. So on the under bust line, I'm going to come in 1 inch towards the center front. I square that down to the hip line. and then towards the side seam I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. All in total I'm marking 2.5 inches. If you're on the plus size, you can make this 3 inches. So you're going to make the one towards the center front 1.25 and towards the side seam 1.75. So I'm going to take from the armhole line, I'll go up by 1 inch to draw the shape of the neckline, and then on that armhole line I'm going to come down 1 inch and go in ½ inch. I'm just trying to draw out the neckline, the shape of the neckline. So I'll go ahead and connect this like this and curve it into the armhole line. I'll be contouring the neckline on the top there. So on the center front side, I'm going to come in 0.75, and towards the side seam, I'm going to do 1.25. I'll go ahead and curve this in like this to make the cup for the bustier. So I'll do this like this, and also for the side, I'm going to curve it in like this and join it towards the under bust line like so. After curving all this, I'm going to make sure I drew all my darts. Next, I'm going to mark the shape of the cup. So from here, I'm going to connect this to the under bust line like so. And towards the side seam, I'm going to come in like 3.5 inches from the side seam to mark for the cup of the side seam. So I'm going to connect this like so. You can also use your curve ruler to join this. I'm using a half scale, so I don't have the shape I want on my curve ruler. I'll go ahead and cut out this. So we are going to be using this to cut out the back pattern and also for the yoke, the yoke of the top, the Queen Anne neckline and the back. So for the back, this is the shoulder line, this is the armhole line, this is the waistline, this is the waistline, and then the hip line. So I'm going to use the front pattern that I have made now to cut to make the back. You're going to align this to the waistline. So I'm going to drop this on the waistline like so. This method is very simple. That's why I decided to use this method. So you're going to close the dart. Don't bother about the upper side. Just go ahead and trace out the side seam. By the time you're done sewing this, your dress should align properly. So I'll go ahead and make a dart at the back so that I will not have a zipper bulge at the back. So I'm coming in by 1 inch. You go ahead and do this all sizes. You can use 1 inch to take away the bulge at the center back. So I'll connect this like so and go ahead and strike off this place. So I'm going to, this is no longer needed. Next, I'm going to mark the shoulder divided by 2. You mark it here. I'm going to square it down to the armhole line. Next, I'll mark the shoulder slope. From the shoulder, come down 1.5 inches. And then on the neckline, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches. Remember, is a Queen Anne neckline. Then I'm going to connect this like this. Remember, this is for the back and the front. So next thing I'm going to do is to mark the curve shape. So I'm going to divide the shoulder width like this, and then from that place I'll come in ½ inch. I'm going to connect this to this place. This one I'm marking now is for the front. The back curve, I'm going to curve it from here like so. So you go ahead and connect that like this. For the back neck depth, I'm going to come down 0.75. I'll mark it and connect it to the shoulder width like so. Next, I'm going to mark the front. For the front, I'm going to lower the armhole of the front. Just lower it like 1 inch and connect a new armhole curve for the front. I'm trying to make the Queen Anne neckline. So I'll go ahead and cut off this. I'll place this back on the pattern so that I will trace off for the armhole for the front. So I'll place it like this, and I'm going to mark the new armhole curve as you see me do. So from this new armhole curve, I'm going to connect this to the shoulder line to make the Queen Anne neckline shape. So I'll go ahead and connect this. So with this, the back pattern is ready. I'm going to trace this off like this for the front pattern and then cut off the back. So you cut off the back first. You trace off the back pattern first. And then you will now trace off the Queen Anne neckline for the front. So that's what I'm going to go ahead now and do. As you can see, all the patterns are ready, but we still have a lot to do. This is the neckline, the Queen Anne neckline, the front pattern. Next, I'm going to go ahead to make the Basque waistline. So I'm going to place this together like this, closing the dart to make the Basque waistline. From the waistline on the side seam, I'm going to come down 3 inches. And then I'm going to connect this to the hip line. You can decide to come up from the hip line 2 inches if you don't like the effect of my Basque waistline. If my own Basque waistline is too deep, you can decide to come up from the hip line 2 inches and then you connect the curve like that. I'll go ahead and label this 1 and 2. I'm going to cut these cups out so that I'll be able to close the darts of the lower part of the top. This is it after closing the Basque waistline. Next is to make the Milkmaid corset top, the cup of the Milkmaid top. So this is my cups. I'm going to spread this. I just squared out a line as you can see, and then I'm going to place the cups on it like this. You can decide to make a slash and spread, but obviously I don't think that's really necessary. I'm just going to mark the height of the cups, both the side and the front, and then I'm going to increase the lower part like this as you can see me do, and then connect the height of the cups, both the center front and the side seam. Just go ahead and connect it straight. The curve we made under will take care of the shape in front. So you just go ahead and connect this like this. You can make it, spread it as much as you want, how wide you want the gathers to be for the Milkmaid. So this is the cups for the Milkmaid is ready, the corset is ready, and the Queen Anne neckline is ready as you can see. So you go ahead and insert elastic and make gathers and insert these cups here. Next, I'm going to finish up by marking the Basque waistline effect for the back. So I'll connect this like this and trace off the lower part. Next, how to make the gather skirt for the Basque waistline. So this is my fabric folded into 2 as you can see. I'm cutting the front first. After cutting the front, you cut out the back. So I have my fabric folded into 2. What I did is I'm going to come down here to make the Basque waistline effect. And for the width of the gathers, divide the hips divided by 2 times that by 4, and that's what I have here. To make the hem equal, you're going to come down here from the width of the where the Basque waistline effect started down here. Let me just put it here so that you understand what I mean. From here, you're going to trace this and cut off this so that the hemline will be equal. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. For the width of the gathers for the back, you make it the same with this, with the front. The only difference is that we cut out this for the back waistline effect. So you go ahead and gather this for the front and also make that for the back. After everything, this is how the dress looks. Very nice and very neat. We have come to the end of today's sewing tutorial.